In recent weeks, Bangladesh has been gripped by widespread protests that have left a trail of destruction and chaos in their wake. The protests, which began as a peaceful movement by students demanding reforms to the country's quota system for government jobs, have escalated into a full-blown crisis that has claimed lives and forced the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. In this video, we will delve into the genesis of these protests, examining the underlying factors that have contributed to this unprecedented uprising. The spark: job quotas and frustrated students. The protests began as a relatively small-scale movement, with students from various universities across the country taking to the streets to demand an end to the quota system for government jobs. This system, which reserves 30% of government jobs for children of freedom fighters and 10% for women, has been a long-standing source of discontent among students. Huge protests across Bangladesh escalated into deadly violence this week, with clashes between students, pro-government supporters and armed police fueling widespread anger over civil service job quotas. The students, who have been struggling to find employment in a crowded and competitive job market, saw the quota system as unfair and biased. The fuel: widespread discontent and economic frustration. However, the protests soon took on a life of their own, tapping into a deep well of discontent and frustration that has been simmering beneath the surface of Bangladeshi society. The country's economic woes, including rising unemployment, inflation, and income inequality, have created a sense of desperation among many young people. The words had become a rallying cry for young Bangladeshis in recent weeks, and on Monday their fury ended the Prime Minister's 15-year reign. The protests have become a platform for people to express their grievances and demand change, not just on the quota system but on a broader range of issues. The catalyst: heavy-handed government response. The government's response to the protests has been widely criticized as heavy-handed and violent. The police have been accused of using excessive force, including tear gas, rubber bullets, and even live ammunition, to disperse the protesters. Anti-government protests turned deadly in Bangladesh. This aggressive response has only served to fuel the protests, galvanizing more people to join the movement and demand reform. The fallout: Sheikh Hasina's resignation. In the end, it was the sheer scale and intensity of the protests that forced Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign. Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned on Monday, ending 15 years in power. It comes after protests that began peacefully as frustrated students demanded an end to a quota system for government jobs, morphed into an unprecedented challenge and uprising against Hasina and her ruling Awami League party. Hasina's resignation marks a major turning point in Bangladesh's political history, and it remains to be seen how the country will navigate this period of uncertainty. The future: uncharted territory. As Bangladesh moves forward, it is clear that the recent protests have marked a significant shift in the country's political landscape. The protests have demonstrated the power of grassroots movements to effect change, and they have raised important questions about accountability, governance, and social justice. However, the road ahead will be fraught with challenges, and it will require careful negotiation and compromise to address the underlying grievances that have driven these protests. Thanks for watching.